Miss Andrews, are you okay?
Definitely not. I'm actress Valerie Allen, and I play Amy Andrews in the new film, The Empty Space.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
A violent attack leaves her without her boyfriend, her home, her sense of self. Amy, like so many of us, suffers from mental illness. As she tries to get her life back together, she's haunted by terrifying visions that may or may not be real. Empty Space goes beyond the slasher and takes you deep into the void. We hope you join us as our film premieres on streaming. We also hope that not only are you frightened, but you gain some insight into a serious problem that affects so many people, including the filmmakers.
I know how it sounds. What if it's real?
The Empty Space, a terrifying new vision from director Andrew Hara.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Bomb Squad. It's a Christmas time, so you know we got a Christmas episode. And I think what we're going to do today, this is our first Christmas-themed episode. Right, William? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
I think last Christmas we did like The Matrix or something.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that was 2 Christmases ago.
The hit film The Matrix Revolutions. Remember there was another Matrix? Anyway, we have a guest because Josh is moving his house. So I was like, do I know anyone else named Josh? Turns out I do. Josh Bleiweiss is a producer that I've worked with. He's going to, and now that he owes me a favor for being on this podcast, he's going to work even more and for free. But yeah, Josh, welcome to the Bomb Squad. As you can see, we keep things very professional here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into film, and also tell us what you do now.
So, like Andrew said, I'm a guest producer. I mainly work in production offices for films that come into town. And that's how Andrew and I got to know each other, is that he would be like, hey, your boys are fucking up their paperwork.
Yep.
Can you please tell me what's going on? And I'm like, listen, I have no idea what's going on over there either.
That's a kind of tight ship you keep on set.
Hell yeah.
I'm a much better AD, even though I haven't done it in 5 years. Trust me. But yeah, so I started filmmaking down here in 2019. I was originally going to college for chemical engineering.
Oh well.
Decided, fuck that. There's nothing good that can come out of me designing like nuclear reactors or engines or anything like that.
That's true.
Yeah, right. I've made the pivot through photography, and then started just doing more producing, more nuts and bolts. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I do travel coordinating. I do producing. I want to get more involved with helping my friends make the movies they want to make. Because a lot of my friends, they're the more creative people, and then I come in and be like, yeah, maybe we can't do this on a one-day short where we really realistically only have 7 hours to get this.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Are you from New Mexico?
So I'm originally from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Was not raised Mormon, one of the very few.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I moved back here. My parents are originally from Las Cruces, so I've been here for the past decade and a half now.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah,
SLC
like
to
years.
LC.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Damn.
I went to Salt Lake City for the first time this year, and it was a beautiful town. It
I
was in the
just
winter
got
time.
back there.
Did you float in the lake? Can't you float in the lake? That's a big thing.
It was like frozen over.
There's not much of a lake left. It's a whole thing.
Oh. Damn.
Yeah, I didn't see any lakes.
Climate change, guys, in this Christmas episode.
Climate change and gentrification.
The two worst things.
Social climate change and environmental climate change.
And what would you say is, I see you got Aliens back there. Is that your favorite movie?
Oh, I am actually a huge Predator fan, but I just
Oh.
I have the Alien poster.
I mean, that's a dope
collect.
poster.
It is a cool poster. I have another poster, and I was looking at it. I was like, why don't I have the actual poster?
These bad boys.
Nice. So
Hell
what were
yeah.
very quickly, what were your thoughts on Prey?
I thought that besides the fact that the main character is from Santa Fe, New Mexico,
Oh,
I thought that it was a pretty good like revitalization point.
Yeah.
Just because the last, even though I like the Predator, to me it had some shortfallings.
yeah.
Even though like I had hoped that Shane Black, having been in the first movie, would kind of bring it back.
Yeah.
But it was like in this weird like comedy space, and then this one brought it more back to its roots. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Shane Black didn't really like the Predator, but they offered him the job, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever." Because he doesn't really like none of them act like the Predators, and then he kind of like gets rid of them right away. Anyway, it's a
Yeah.
whole thing.
There
We
was
covered
supposed to be like
Prey, yeah.
2 army Predators that had like army camouflage and like machine guns, but those are fully cut out of the script.
Yeah.
Mm.
Probably for the better, I feel.
Was that the one with Adrian Brody, the Shane Black one?
No, that's
No.
Predators.
That one's actually
Oh.
pretty good.
Yeah, that
That
was
was
okay.
fun.
Which one did
That
Shane
was-
Black do?
He did the Predator with Olivia Munn.
Yeah, Olivia Munn and
Oh.
Keegan Michael Key.
I never saw that. I didn't
Oh,
even know
yeah.
that existed.
Oh yeah,
It's
it
one
came
of
out in
the-
like
What?
2008.
Oh,
No,
shit.
2008, 2018, 2019.
It was
Oh.
made in the height of the autism gives you superpowers genre that
Oh,
people
God.
watched for a
Hell
while.
yeah.
Because they're like the Predator's like, oh, this kid is the next evolution because he has autism.
Yeah,
I was
pretty
like,
much.
that shouldn't constant. Why is that in every plot right now? Ben Affleck.
Still figuring out the spectrum. Yeah, seriously.
They,
He's
they
accounting for
basically
all the
made it
misfits.
Well, and I
so
feel
that-
like, yeah, I feel like with Predator, you have to be more creative because, like, with Aliens, you have the whole world and the whole universe, and you can really play with it.
Yeah.
But like with Predator, it's very like simple-minded, which makes it cool, but also means you have to get really creative with how you're gonna do it. I think Prey did a good job. But yeah, I think people think that making a Predator is easy, but I feel like
Oh,
it's a
God,
little
no.
bit harder than most
Yeah.
people think. Yeah.
Can I pitch my ideal next Predator movie? to you
Yeah.
guys?
Sure.
Basically, it's what a lot of people want, but it's period piece Japan.
Okay.
Nice.
So it's like a disgraced samurai brings on like a younger apprentice, and then it's during like this time of political strife, like shogun versus shogun. And then it follows an older predator with a young predator that he's training, and it just parallels each other, but period piece Japan.
That'd be
Damn.
cool.
That'd be cool.
Plus, it's like, yeah, I one of the things I liked about Prey was that it kind of showed like this different culture, and like it kind of let us, I think it's important to do like Killers of the Flower Moon because you get to see the Osage County, but a movie like this, like a lot more people are gonna watch Prey than are gonna watch Killers of the Flower Moon, and so you kind of it's easier to integrate, diversity.
And the fact that there's like a whole, they were very respectful of the indigenous culture.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole version of this film that's entirely done in Comanche.
Right.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah, which I
Oh,
think is
whoa.
really cool. Like it's entirely dubbed over in traditional Comanche dialect.
Damn.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think, like, okay, I do think also we've spent 10 minutes. So now let's get to the movie we're actually covering. It has nothing to do with Predator whatsoever. We're doing
Kind of Predator.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
true,
similar. Yeah.
true.
It's a monster.
We're doing
Running around fucking shit up.
2006's Black Christmas, starring Michelle Trachtenberg, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Lacey Chabert. I don't know any of these names. But I'm like Katie
Andrew
Cassidy.
famously has no idea how to say anyone's name, so bear with him and
Well,
us.
aware.
I know.
I don't try to say, and it also stars. Yeah, it's a pretty stacked cast, especially like
Yeah.
we'll get into it in a second, but it's a stacked cast and stuff happens to them that you're not going to expect happens to these cast members. But
Mhm.
William, tell us what this movie is about.
Okay, it's about this sorority, and a lot of the sorority sisters have gone home for Christmas, so it's just like a few remaining sisters back at the house, and they live in this weird old like two-story place that used to belong to this guy whose name is William Edward, which is also my first and middle name, which is fucked up.
Damn.
And all this fucked up shit happened to him in this house, and he becomes this like serial killer. And or not, he's a I don't know, I forget what they call him, like a quick killer or something. He's just a guy who's snapped and is on a murdering spree.
Spree killer.
A spree
Yeah.
killer. And so essentially the whole movie is just these girls getting attacked by this person who's hiding in their house. But you learn more about William Edward and his family and how fucked up it gets. And yeah, it's a pretty average horror movie, but it goes in places that I didn't expect it to go. I thought it was a pretty wild ride.
One thing I want to add, because William said that thing about spree killers, and it reminded me. So the other day I was on Reddit, and I think I was like on the Scream Reddit, and someone was like, it was Halloween, and someone was like, would Michael Myers be considered a serial killer? And then underneath they're like, technically they should be a spree killer. And they just did this speech from this movie because they talk about it.
Whoa. Yeah, yeah.
And so I was reading, and I was like, that's pretty interesting. And then when I was watching the movie, I was like, hey, that guy from Reddit just ripped off this movie
Fuck that guy.
And then he was immediately like, everyone was like, no, that's not a real thing. That's just like, the cops only call it serial killing either way. And I was like,
right,
oh man,
right.
Black Christmas really let this guy down.
I mean, it makes
know
sense
all
though.
of
I
my
mean, he
history
doesn't
from
really do
Black
it by a
Christmas.
pattern.
Yeah, true.
I thought that was
So,
cool.
Josh, why did you pick? Because we always let the guests pick on our episode, the first one at least. So why did you pick Black Christmas?
So I went with Black Christmas because I love almost anything and everything horror movie related. And I feel like some of the most like bonkers script ideas come out of like holiday themed slasher movies or just Halloween themed horror movies that aren't Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So Black Christmas, as someone whose celebrity crush is Mary Elizabeth Winstead,
Good choice.
I was like, we got to go with a Christmas themed slasher, and this was the first one that popped up to me, even though this is the second of like 3 versions of this movie.
Yeah. Which
Oh,
I guess
right,
is my
right.
next question before we get into this version. Have you guys seen the other 2 Black Christmases, and what did you think of those films? William's shaking his head.
This is my only one. This is my intro.
Wow. This is your introduction to Black Christmas. Interesting.
Yeah.
I
So
will
I've seen-
also say that this is the first one I saw as well.
I've seen this one, and I've seen the 2019 one. I haven't gone back to the first one.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Gotcha.
But this one is more a parallel to the first one,
Mhm.
whereas the third one just takes it to a really weird place where it's like sorority cult, like we kill people and use their blood for rituals to make us younger.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just going to go on a
Sounds
little
pretty cool.
tangent on that third one. The problem with the third one, it's like, why did you name this Black Christmas if you're not going to do anything with it, you know? And B, they kind of do this thing where like they're trying to say something about like the way men treat women in like society. And so they like, it's good because, you know, the main of all these films is a sorority. That is a connection between all 3 of them. The problem is that in this movie or in the third one, they kind of like give an excuse for why the men are evil. And I'm like, wait, what's the point you're trying to make again? Because I feel like the explanation kind of goes against the point you've tried to make. And so it's a little bit rough. I think it's kind of like they rushed shit a little bit, and I think they just needed another pass. But yeah, I really I saw this one first, and then I saw the original afterwards. They're very different films. One thing is in the original, they have a character named Billy, who we'll talk about a little bit more. He's the main killer guy. He's like making phone calls. But he does not have a backstory. He has a couple of things that he says, but we don't ever know if they're true or not because he also says a bunch of other shit that doesn't happen.
You're talking
And
about the old one?
so this is the original, yeah.
Gotcha.
And so it's interesting to watch this one because this one gives a full backstory to Billy. And they
Yeah.
kind of like took a couple of threads from the original and just expanded on them. Kind of like in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where like in the
Gotcha,
remake
yeah.
with Jessica Biel, like they make it very clear that they're eating people and like they're like, oh no, we're eating them.
Yeah.
But in the original, it's just kind of implied, but like it works so well that you don't think that, oh yeah, they don't really say that in the original because of
Yeah.
the fact that like it's already kind of in the subtext. And this one kind of does the same thing, which I thought was interesting. That it was just like, oh, we're just gonna
Right.
expand on everything he kind of says. So the guy Glenn Morgan who made this one is like a huge fan of the original. You could tell just watching this one. It's very interesting. But yes, what did you guys think of this Black Christmas? Also, the name is just amazing.
Yeah, it's a great name.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that like I've heard of this movie a lot. Like it's always kind of come up on like lists of things you should see, like in circles that I run in online. I just never really did. But I mean, this movie was fucking gross as hell. Like
Yeah.
this was like I'm not really. I've like seen so many movies. I mean, we all have. Like I don't really get grossed out that often, but like this movie, I had to like look away a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like the eyeballs being pulled, fucking just so every death was just extreme as fuck. Like it just never stopped, and it was so much fun.
The two things I really liked about this movie is and I was actually talking about this earlier because I had seen another Christmas horror film. Sometimes when they do Christmas horror, it's just like, oh, we're just gonna set it in Christmas, and then they put like one Christmas tree and nothing else, like it's there. In this one, no. Like every single scene is so Christmassy. At the very beginning, you kind of learn Billy's backstory and like his mom was real mean to him, and then like he killed the mom, but then he makes like Christmas cookies out of the mom's back, and it's like, oh yeah, this movie is like every single part of it is like he's in the mental institution, and in his like little room they have Christmas lights, and Santa comes to visit him, and it's like this is fucking Christmassy shit.
Also, why would you let a convicted felon have Christmas lights like that, like of a violent crime in his room?
I also don't know exactly how like criminal mental institutions work. I don't think they let you decorate your room at all if you're so dangerous that you can't even leave your room.
Yeah, or like things you could hang yourself with, like
right. There's like so much glass in those lights. Like, I mean, he didn't even need glass to kill anybody in the mental institution, but he could have.
And then they give him they're giving him like special meals. It's like, hey guys, you're really running close to the chest on this one.
Yeah.
And the other thing I really liked about it is what William said. This movie's so fucking brutal for no real reason.
Like, where it's fucking like brutal. It's so crazy.
Michelle Trachtenberg or whatever, she was famous for being the little sister on Buffy, being Harriet the Spy, and being like this kid person, and they fucking murder her so badly. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I like that about it because, like, again, a lot of times when you're watching a horror movie, you're like, well, this is the most famous person in this movie. They're probably going to be, like, fine, or they're going to die, like, getting stabbed quietly, No. This one, everyone gets fucking whacked, like, hardcore. It's, like, gruesome.
And one other thing I like, too, that kind of goes into that is, like, I feel like a lot of times if I don't like a slasher, I think it's usually because there aren't that many people that get killed. And so it's like they start off with like 4, like party members, and then it's like 2 die in the first 20 minutes. And so it's just like, fuck, now I've got 2 people left. It's not really that great. But this movie had so many cast members that like they killed off like 3 people like immediately, and then there's still so many more to go.
And then more people would show up.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's like 3 people before they get to the house.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just like it never stops.
Like, okay, so Billy's in his mental institution. He manages to like escape. Just getting out of like he escapes, and then he like kind of comes back just to murder more people in the mental institution for no real reason. They're just like, yeah, he's gonna kill more people. He's killing everyone. Yeah. And it's like, and then he kills someone to take the Christmas suit, and he just leaves it later. He's like, I'm done with it now.
Yeah, it was like that horny Santa.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how the nurse and Billy didn't cross paths. Like,
yeah. There must have been a yellow wall that he blended in with his weird skin.
Yeah, also
he for some reason has yellow skin.
Yeah. And he's the same type of yellow that the yellow bastard is.
Yeah, that's what it made me think of too.
And the thing with that is it's like so mid 2000s horror movie editing for this, where they just like did a pass of yellow filter only over that part of the screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's why he's remarkably yellow is how I would describe him. Yeah. And like it's kind of funny because again, in other horror films, and sometimes that's the point, but in like they won't give you backstory, even the original Black Christmas, like I said. But this one, there's multiple flashbacks. I think it makes it
Hmm.
kind of like you really get invested in Billy's
I
story.
think there's 3 of them or 4 of them.
Yeah, because there's the
Yeah, something like
first
that.
one. It opens with one, and then they kind of show another one, and then there's a twist at the end that they also have to
Hmm.
explain. And it's
Mhm.
it's it's interesting because like a lot of times, like of course in Halloween 2, Laurie Strode ends up being Michael Myers' sister, and so you kind of think there's gonna be a connection, but there's really like they're just in his house. He doesn't like you here, and so he's gonna murder
Yeah.
you. It's like I don't know. It's like this guy really sat down and was like, how can I make this movie the best Black Christmas movie I can possibly do?
Yeah.
Which again, talking about the Predator earlier and how Shane Black was like, I don't care. And even the
Right.
remake where it just kind of felt like another script that they just named Black Christmas. This one, no, no, no. It's very like because in the original they have the phone calls, they cover one girl with like mat like with plastic and they stab her, and in this one they keep doing that. So it's
That's
really
like the
like
whole thing.
yeah, they really like
Right.
expanded on every part of the original, and I think it kind of works really well as a companion piece as well as its own thing.
The glass unicorn is from the first movie too.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I
Every
think
murder weapon is just like a long, like cylindrical blade. Like
yeah,
there are no knives. There's no guns. It's all just like long ass, thick ass things, like icicles essentially, and everyone just gets fucking stabbed in the face, like the eyes. The eye. There's a
yeah.
big thing of eyes in this movie, and so like if you have eye problems, like if you don't like shit with eyes, do not watch this movie.
This is the worst movie for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Eye
like
ornaments,
yeah, eye
eye
snacks.
snacks.
The part whenever he ate the mom, like whenever he makes, we were talking about this earlier, he makes like cookie cutter shapes out of his mom's back flesh, and then when they show him eating them, like they go like close up to his mouth.
Yeah, it's
And
really gross.
yeah, did you guys ever see the movie Gummo, that
I
No.
Harmony
haven't seen
Korine
it yet.
movie?
No.
There's a part where this little kid eats like spaghetti in a bathtub, and it's Harmony Korine, so it's fucking gross as hell. And I never wanted to see that ever again in my whole life. And I feel like today I was like reintroduced to gross Gummo kid, but
I
like
do.
10 times
Yeah.
worse because it's like mom back flesh. Like it's things that like you would see in other movies that you're like, oh great, you're eating flesh, who cares? But they just made everything so gross. Like they somehow
It's
just
like
took
so
everything up
burnt
to
too.
11. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Every
charred.
every one who's not like a sorority girl is sweating like the entire movie. Like they're
Yeah.
all like nervous, gross wrecks in this
Hmm.
film.
It's humid as fuck wherever they are.
In the middle of
December,
winter.
yeah.
And they
And I
have
think
like
like oh
deep
god.
bags under their eyes too.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it's yeah, they're just the grossest people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And I
you've got
think
like
like oh go ahead.
and then the rest of the cast is basically like taken straight out of Pretty Little Liars
I know.
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
any CW show from that time.
Just
And it's
such
like
2006 fashion going on too.
I know.
It's like
It's
crazy.
like Katie Cassidy, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Like these were
Mhm.
big people at the time. It's so crazy that they got so many of them in this film.
I know it's true. The cast was
Yeah.
good. They were great.
Yeah. And it's funny because you have like I think like again watching a lot of horror like Christmas horror movies a lot of the times they kind of like shy away from the violence because it's Christmas time and they're like we don't want to get too extreme. But again,
Mhm.
this movie does not do that. If you
Yeah.
want like an actual Christmas horror movie, I feel like this is probably the one of the best ones I've seen. Because
Yeah.
like even the original is really good, but it's also like it does the thing where I said where it's barely about Christmas. But this one is like they go all in, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and essentially the story is that they're getting phone calls. There's like a sorority, and they're getting phone calls, and so like at first, and again, another thing I like is every character. Like Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays like the rich girl, and then Katie
Mhm.
Cassidy plays like she's dating like a townie, and nobody else likes the townies. Um, and they like, and then Michelle Trachtenberg is like playing like the kind of naive one, like, and they all interact really well. Like, there's like a mean character who like yells at everyone, and they kind of like, hey, stop doing that. But they don't like, they never go too far where they don't feel like they'd be friends, but they make them
Right.
diverse enough that they work as different people. Which again, in horror films, like sometimes you can't even tell who's who. But in this
Mhm.
one, they're also different. That like
Yeah.
they really diversify these girls, and again, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, I would say that's true. There, it could have been so easy for them all to just like sound the exact same, but they did a good job of like making everybody like what you thought of stereotypically as like a mid 2000s sorority girl, but like also gave everybody like really distinct personalities and like mannerisms.
Yeah.
Like the girl from Mean Girls like goes outside for a cigarette, and like she's not a tough girl, but she's like kind of a tough girl.
Yeah.
Michelle Trachtenberg is kind of like a mom. Then that
Right.
one girl's like a fucking drunk, or she's actually just getting fucked up. I don't know if she's a drunk or not.
Yeah.
But the one
And
girl
then
you
you
don't really
have-
get to meet that often, the one who dies at the very beginning, like the only girl you don't really get to know that much about. But
Oh, I was also thinking the literal red herring that is like the nerdy sorority
Yeah,
girl.
I was thinking
It's,
of
like,
that
not
girl,
supposed
too.
to
That
be a
was-
part of it there.
that was weird. I thought that threw me for a loop. I was like, because they showed her directly after the flashback showing that Billy had a sister.
Mhm.
And so it was weird that she wasn't a sister. Like that kind of was confusing to me.
I know, but I like that red herring so much because it's kind of like so they introduce this girl and she's like kind of weird and everyone thinks she's weird. And
Mhm.
then she disappears for the whole movie, and then they reveal that Billy had a sister from the mom. Incest. This is like the
Yeah.
most 2000s
Oh,
movie
yeah.
ever.
Yeah, it was so fucked up. I was like, they would not make this now. Like that
This
was,
is what Eli
they would
Roth
not go
wants
there.
to do. Yeah.
I know he just has
Um,
no sense of humor.
And so like there's incest, and so he finds out he has a daughter, and that's why he kind of also went crazy. And they cut to that girl, and then you're like, oh well, of course. Or you're like, oh well, maybe it's one of the other girls, and that's a red herring. But it turns out to be a completely different person.
Yeah,
And they just cut
yeah.
off that girl's head and like stick it at the top of the tree, and it's like, damn, she didn't even do anything.
It like
I
rolls
know.
out of a car at one point too.
Yeah,
Like, they're
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, oh shit, we forgot this character left, and
Right.
there's no body.
They're just like, is she sleeping in her car? It's so cold outside.
I know.
No, it's her fucking
And
head.
There's also a really funny scene. So like they're all trying to figure out what to do, and then like at one point Mary Elizabeth Winstead and the sorority mom are like, well, let's get out of here. We're gonna try the car, and they go out to the car, and like again, since Mary Elizabeth Winstead is a rich girl, she's like, oh, I'm gonna stay in the car, and the other girl's gonna get the ice picked off, and then like blood, like you see the car move a little bit, and then you see blood spurt everywhere. And it's like this is such a like an inventive scene where it's still super bloody, but it's like super creative. And then an
Right.
ice pick just falls and hits the sorority mom in the head, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that one wasn't Billy. That was just like shit luck for you.
And like that's the shittiest luck ever too.
I know.
Like to look right up into it and then it falls in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know, the kills are super creative in a way that like
Mhm.
there's a character who's like she's trying to get out, and like it's Billy's sister at this point, and Billy's sister's like looking around for different fucking weapons, and then she picks up like a skate and throws
Yes.
it at her
Oh,
head.
God.
Oh, yeah.
Cuts the back of
That
her
was
head.
Michelle. Yeah. Oh, I guess I won't say. Fucking
Yeah.
that one is so good.
And
That
then-
was when I realized that this movie was fucked up.
Yeah, and then it cuts to the back of her head. You see her skull, and it's like, you don't have to cut to that, guys. We understood what happened.
Dude. It was like slimy. It was like there were
Yeah.
so many different textures in the back of her head. It was like
I know.
I don't know. It was so
I
bad.
really
I-
like
I-
the stepdad one.
Oh
where they
yeah.
just punch through and then the eyeball comes out on the other end of the skull.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
See, and like, I'm trying to think, but in the original, there's like a couple of shots where you see his eye through like a crack in the door, because he's in both movies. Billy's like hiding in the walls and in the roof and stuff, and so that's why like the girls like they tell him like, oh, it's coming from inside the house, and that's when they're like freaking out. But so like they see him in his eye, and it's kind of been the famous thing about Black Christmas, and that's what I meant. Like this movie expands on everything, because this movie has so many like eyes that are being gouged out, and it's like you just did that because of the eye of the original. Like, but that's pretty cool that they're like, yeah, we're just gonna cut out the eyes. That's his thing now.
So the original, people aren't losing eyes just left and right.
No, the original, there's not as
Okay.
much eye loss as in this
Gosh.
movie, which has more eyeballs out of their head than I've ever seen in one film.
Yeah, dude. One of the first scenes when one of the first kills, he like literally just like steps up and just like slowly pulls like the eye out of someone's face. It was just like,
Yeah.
God damn, dude. Like it seemed like you could tell it was like so like it wasn't like cheesy, but it was like, it's obviously a very low budget movie, but
Right.
they still they pulled every ounce of like tension out of this stuff that they
Budget
possibly do.
was 9 million. Box
guess
office
that's
return
not too bad.
is 21.5.
Damn.
Hell yeah. Made
Mom
it back.
Squad it is. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
one, it's also kind of cool that that this movie is like, I don't know, the good thing about everyone being like such a character so that you get to know all of them is that it makes it hard. Like halfway through the movie, you realize that Katie Cassidy is the lead of this film. But because everyone is such a character for the beginning, you are kind of picking, at least I did, you pick your favorite character and you just
Yeah.
kind of hope that they're gonna make it, and then sometimes they just don't. Like you don't
Yeah.
realize when they're gonna get killed, you know?
I would say most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, almost 90% of the time.
pretty
'Cause,
pretty
like,
low odds.
Yeah.
If this movie were made today, Mary Elizabeth Winstead would be the final girl.
Right.
But
Yeah.
then they essentially, like you said, it's kind of an off-screen kill almost, because you don't see it actually
Mhm.
happen to her besides that blood spray.
Right. And I think, like, again, you know, it's kind of a funny movie, especially if you're a fan of horror. I would check this movie out because I wouldn't necessarily call it a subversion of expectations. I'm gonna get into a spoiler real fast, so go watch it. But at the very end, they think they've set down Billy and his sister, and so they're at the hospital and like everything's fine, you know. And the sister, there's another character who comes in, you find out that she's Katie Cassidy's sister, and so she's like going to visit Katie Cassidy, and then like the Billy's sister turns around and like grabs her, and you're like, holy shit! And like that scene has happened a bunch of times. Like it was in the Scream with Emma Roberts, where like, oh, you think you're safe in the hospital, but it's not. Usually, what ends up happening is that they kill, like that's like the final like try to do it, and they kill that person. But in this one, she just straight up murders the sister to the point where I've seen this movie and I was like, oh fuck, I forgot that they killed one of the
Right.
leads at the very end of the movie after they've gotten through. Like all the Save Your Cat books and screenwriting books would have told you not to fucking do that.
Right.
But this movie does it, and I think like that makes it super fuck. Because then like I was like, I don't know if Katie Cassidy's gonna live through this movie because they've murdered
Right.
everyone, you know.
And they're
But
also
then
having
it-
this huge. Oh, go. What were you gonna say?
Oh, and I was going to say, but that leads into two other extremely creative kills.
Mhm.
The Christmas tree.
The Christmas tree, and I love a good defibrillator.
Yeah.
Kill.
Oh yeah. Right in the fucking
Anytime,
dome.
it's also fun because anytime you see a defibrillator in a horror film, you're like, that's gonna shock the shit out of someone.
Yeah, someone's supposed to
eventually.
get fucked up. Yeah.
I was hoping.
Anytime
like,
you see the charge, that's how you know.
I was hoping that like the eye would shoot out.
Oh yeah, like with the
afterwards.
charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been only too perfect.
I do like how, and also you find out that her sister like has a fake eye or some shit, and it's
Yes,
like
because they
Mhm.
show because he pulls her eye out on Christmas Day.
right, and it becomes that thing where it's like, God damn, what the fuck is up with you and eyeballs?
I know.
Not everyone has to have eyeball related things.
Also, the
But-
hospital, like whenever the main girl is like getting attacked in the hospital, like she's making so much noise, and like no one gives a shit. Like no one's there to help,
Yeah.
and like she's breaking windows to like escape from rooms, and the staff is just like, "Get out of the way, motherfucker!" And she's just like, "I'm
There's-
fucking trying. You have no idea. I swear to
There's
God."
also a really great, this is actually very realistic version of when she calls the cops and the cops are like, well, can you leave?
Yeah,
You're like asking them questions while people are being murdered. They're like, well, can you,
There's
like, I don't know.
snow.
You're like, there's snow. We can't go out there. It's like, you're the only people who should be going out there. You're fucking police officers.
That's what you'd think, but that's not true.
The cops did not give a shit in this movie.
I know.
loved it. Yeah.
And the drunk girl's the one who's like, the cops aren't gonna do shit about this.
I know.
It's
she
like,
was
all right,
right on
drunk
the
wise
law.
girl. She was the
And
then
smartest
the-
one. She was just sad. We never got to find out
Yeah.
why she was sad. I
Yeah.
guess because her parents didn't want her to come home for Christmas.
Because everyone hated
Fuck
her is what I assumed. Once like she's the one who's like yelling at Mary Elizabeth Winstead for no reason. It's like
Yeah, NASCAR daddy. Go home to your NASCAR daddy. She's just like, I will. He's rich as
I
fuck.
know. It's like this is good for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do like. And then there is a shitty boyfriend, but he's like so shitty that like he has no redeeming qualities. Like he
Yeah.
like cheats on Katie Cassidy, and he's like, "What did you want me to do?" It's like not
Right,
cheat on her.
right.
Like what the fuck?
And like, the whole
Yeah.
reason he's there is because like he wants to delete that sex tape.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. because there's the girl that you don't really get to meet that much at the beginning, and she's just pissed off because she's watching a sex tape of hers that was leaked onto the internet, and this
And it's
guy's just
Katie
there.
Cassidy's boyfriend is a guy.
Right.
And then like there's a funny scene which is very like I could see this happening in college. So he's there to delete the sex tape. He breaks into her room and he's kind of like talking to her, and then he gets out of there, and like they're like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Because they think he's a killer, and he's like, "Oh, I was looking for Katie Cassidy, so I came in through the window." And then they're like, "Oh, well, is that girl in the room?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then someone's like, "What the fuck do you mean you don't know?" But then they just let it slide. They're just like, I would have been like, tie that motherfucker up. He's clearly the killer. This is the most suspicious guy ever.
I know. It's just like, you spoiled bitches get to stay here for 2 years and leave. I live here. It's like, dude, you're making yourself much, much, much worse.
I know.
Just like, I'm a loser. It's like, well, you're not, but you're definitely making yourself out.
His excuse for cheating on her was that he's Zerald, like he's from that town.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm always here. I live here. And you're like, that's neither here nor there, buddy.
I know.
Fucking...
It's like the most incel shit ever. You're going to rent my town, you're going to rent my dick. That's all there is to it.
He also mentions that, like, he's got multiple other tapes. Like,
right.
Yeah. My friend got mad and stole my tapes. Tapes?
Katie, and like, it's so funny how innocent Katie Cassidy is. She doesn't even want to bone until Christmas, which is weird.
I know. Do we know the timeline of like when Christmas was supposed to be? Like, was it like the next day?
2 days. No, 2 days from then.
yeah.
Because it wasn't Christmas Eve. It was like the day before Christmas.
Right. Yeah, they would have made a big deal about it being Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, another funny thing, and I don't remember if this is in the original or not, but at the beginning, they're like, because this house is where Billy lived. That's why he comes back to it. And now it's a sorority house. But the sorority every year has a gift for Billy, which is just a box that they leave there. And I thought, like, I don't know, there's just so much lore in this one random movie that I think it's like, it makes it very fun. It makes it very, like, lived in, you know? Like, I don't know. It just feels like, again, and it's crazy to, like, be praising a director who seems to really love the work. But, like, there was no reason for a Black Christmas remake in 2006 to be this fun and entertaining.
Yeah, totally.
And it also, like, part of that is that Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character was supposed to give the gift to Billy.
Oh, right. She didn't want to.
Yeah, she didn't want to. Yeah,
something about like it was essentially like we need to put the Christ back in Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She felt uncomfortable with like a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do like how everything she says is technically correct, but she just says it in like a rich girl voice, so you don't agree with anything. Because like once the first phone call, like because Billy calls first and he's like, "Get out of my house."
Yeah.
And then they hang up on him, and then she's like, "We should call the cops," and everyone's like, "No, dummy."
Like, what are they gonna do about one phone call?
I don't know.
She's like, and then at the beginning, she's like, "I don't think we should do this gift for Billy thing. It seems kind of morbid and gross." And they're like, "Shut up, idiot!"
Yeah.
It's like, no.
You ate burnt rubber for breakfast, you dumb bitch.
And there's like multiple times where like she's like, "We should just leave," and everyone's like, "Nah, that sounds weird." It's like, how does that sound weird, guys? You need to get the hell out of this house.
Yeah, they were pretty lazy for like having a murder in their midst.
To be fair, that is like, I do wonder, like, if a serial killer broke into my house, would I just try to leave, or would I just like be in my room and be like, "I'll probably be fine"?
Yeah, it would depend on the day for sure, like case by case basis.
Like,
there are definitely days where I'd just be like, "Come on."
You want to hit this joint?
Oh my God. Yeah. I would just be blowing it in the draft and be like, hopefully he gets some.
Yeah.
Hopefully he
on
gets
Earth,
picked
bro.
out. Yeah.
No, I want to the part with like Billy, the gift, and the ritual. There's the part where the drunk girl kind of starts going off on like the pagan symbolism of Christmas.
Oh, right.
And it kind of made it seem like they were going to kind of go in like in a cultish kind of way. And I like how the movie ended up going, but there's a part of me that would really like to see Billy and his sister be part of like some like cult, and like they're being like resurrected or something, and kind of go into like the paganism, like an evil pagan, like the witch, but Christmas or something like that. That
Well,
could
I
be
have good
really
news and
fun.
bad news. If you want to see Black Christmas with a cult, you should watch the remake.
Yeah.
You will
Oh
not.
yeah, I mean that sounds cool. Is it not good? Like that? I remember
It's
that
not
now.
good
That
at
sounds
all.
awesome.
No, it's
Really?
very like
I
It
will
sounds
say
awesome.
though, if that movie had like, because the cult's kind of treated as a twist. If they had done the cult from the beginning, I feel like the movie would have been better.
Right, you have to do a cult from the
Like
beginning.
the
Like the
void,
scary
yeah,
comes in
yeah.
from gross cult stuff. Like
Like
that's
the
where it's
cult should
scary.
get worse. It shouldn't
Yeah, it's like Fight
come
Club.
back. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It should get to Project Mayhem.
right,
Yeah.
right. The best like middle of a movie change ever. Like it's
And
such a
so
good drop.
this is funny, and I kind of told Josh a little bit about this, but this movie is famous because the trailer for this movie, they shot a bunch of scenes that they did not use in the movie, and maybe I'll even put it up. I don't know if
Oh
it'll be
really?
copyright strike. Yeah, like one of the scenes is like a giant mower with Christmas lights, and it starts like going, and then Michelle Trachtenberg is like in the snow, like trying to crawl out, but she's stuck with Christmas lights, and it's pulling her back,
Oh whoa! Like she's
and
gonna get.
like yeah, she's
Yeah.
gonna get cut up, and then like it clearly like sets it for Mary Elizabeth Winstead to be the lead, which I guess because that was originally the case, maybe they were just like, yeah, just do it anyway. But
Yeah, she was
there,
pretty famous at the time, right?
I think she was the most famous.
She'd
I
been
don't
kind of.
know.
When did Death Proof come out?
I want to say it was around that time, but I want to say this is after.
She was like a Disney Channel girl, I think. Like I think she
No,
got famous from like Disney Channel movies.
I think this is after Die Hard. So I think she had that was her big.
Live Free
Death
Die
Proof
Hard.
was 07, so it was after
Oh, right
this.
Right after this. Gotcha.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I remember I was like in high school in 06. I remember being a huge fan of Miss Winstead for sure.
I was 8.
Oh. Nice.
But I think another thing about this movie that's interesting is it comes in between, like it's one of the earlier remakes of like a 70s 80s horror movie, because you have the Texas Chainsaw and the only reason I know these dates is because I have them pulled up.
Yeah,
but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the first one was in 03.
Mm-hmm.
You have this in 06. Rob Zombie's Halloween is 07. And then Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Fright Night. Friday the 13th is 09.
Wow.
Just kind of
okay,
and then
so
there's
that's-
when did they do Nightmare on Elm Street again?
I think that was
think that was
last, like 2011.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that was pretty big there for a while.
Other scenes was Jillian Murray who's like she was in the trailer. She's not even in this movie.
Who is that?
Just a random actress they just put in the trailer falling off the roof.
Oh.
And then they have this scene where Michelle Trachtenberg has a shotgun, and and she aims the shotgun and she goes, "Merry Christmas, motherfucker," which would have been cool.
Yeah,
Let's say that would have been cool.
Right. She would have had to use a Magnum though to like get the eyes because
I
the
know.
shotgun spread would have been
Very
too
Demon
messy.
Knight.
Too messy.
Well, see, and I think that's interesting because this movie then and Texas Chainsaw kind of lead the way for how, because like before, like remakes were like, well, they weren't that popular, but they weren't like this movie or this one in Texas are very realistic in a way, and they're very like they're very gritty and dark, you know.
Totally.
And I
yeah, the
wonder
original. Oh, go for it.
Because Hills Have Eyes is also 2006, and that does kind of the same thing, where it's like these really dark, kind of like gross, sweaty. Texas Chainsaw is also pretty sweaty, you know. I think it's an interesting time in film because it's kind of like away from before it had been like, I think the last ones were like 13 Ghosts, like that was the big genre, and then this kind of like sets a new precedent because horror like switches every 10 years. Like right now we're in Conjuring, but I think we're moving out of that right now.
Right.
So it's interesting to see this movie kind of at the beginning of that kind of new trend of how it changed.
Totally.
And I remember already 2 Saws in and 1 Hostel movie in by this point. Too.
Right. So people are kind of itching for. I remember whenever the first Hostel came out, that was like, that was the first time I remember being alive where there was a trailer that it was like people had to be shuttled out of the theater because of too much intensity, and I was like, oh my fucking god, are you serious?
I remember around Hostel there was like this kind of like, oh, you might not be able to handle how
it felt like a snuff film coming out. Like I felt weird in the theater because like I think I wasn't there. I wasn't supposed to be there. I think that I snuck into it or something.
Mhm.
and like that just adds to the stress. But like I
Yeah.
remember being that one and the Texas Chainsaw remake. I also snuck into that one too because I was only in ninth grade, and that was like the stress of like my parents not knowing I was at the movies, plus with that movie being just like a heart attack inducing motherfucker. Like that was an awful day. That was like
Yeah.
not like in a bad way. Like it was fun, but like I will never ever forget the Texas Chainsaw remake.
But it's
Ever.
funny that movie, like watching it. I remember because it has a really cool opening, and it's
Yeah.
like a really good jump scare. But you're watching it and you're like that jump scare happens and you're like, oh fuck,
Is it
this
the
movie's
good
like
girl in the
not
van?
fucking around. Yeah, no, it's the
Yeah.
cop and he's in the basement and he's
Oh, I
kind of
don't know if I
like
remember.
looking around and it's like shown like evidence footage, but then like he turns and like Leatherface is just right there and then the movie starts. And I was like,
Oh,
ah!
Oh,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's where you get the like flash
Mhm.
the noise
The
from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a good noise, man.
Yeah.
That movie was fucking crazy.
I know that's a good movie.
Yeah.
Which we talked about. Go check out our review of that one down the list. I don't know where it is.
Where
But
can
yeah,
people
I think
listen to
this
that episode,
movie,
Andrew?
huh?
Where can people listen to that episode, Andrew?
They can listen to it on YouTube and I don't know where the other wherever we are. I think we're on Spotify and iTunes and all that, but other places too. Every once in a while, it'll be like I'll get an email
We're
that'll be
everywhere
like,
and nowhere.
you have a new subscriber on Podbean, and I'm like, what the fuck is Podbean?
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, we're just on a bunch of stuff that I don't even know. But thank you guys for listening. Podbean, I'm just kidding. We love you. Don't unsubscribe from our podcast.
Please. Please.
But yeah, no, I think this is a fun movie. I think if you're looking for a
Mhm.
Halloween, especially if you like, if there's a group of you and you're like, let's put on like a fun Halloween movie, because the original is good, but it's like more stark and more like there's a lot more themes playing in that one because it's like a huge feminist movie. And so that one's cool, but like you don't really want to get drunk and watch that movie. Like, I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you
Yeah.
want to learn feminist themes. It's always good. But this
I
one
would
is
say
like
so. Yeah.
you get a couple of, a little bit of smoking, a little bit of drink. You put this movie on, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a romp for sure.
it's
I
a
would
romp
consider
is
it
a
a
great
romp.
way
Yeah.
to put it. Yeah,
Just fucked up. Like, just it's the most slasher a slasher movie could possibly be.
yeah.
Like, it doesn't get slasherier than this movie. This is like the apex of
If
slasher
You
someone
have
was
movies.
two killers too.
yeah,
Yeah, and they have interesting backstories. Really
yeah.
fucked up backstories.
If I wanted to
But
get someone
cool.
into slashers, I would show them like Scream and then this movie to be like, here are the two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to go down?
Which is your favorite?
Hostile?
Yeah.
Is Hostile a slasher? Would you guys consider that a slasher? Torture
No.
porn was what people started calling that
Yeah,
kind of
torture
movie.
porn.
Yeah.
Like, you guys ever see that movie
Or, like,
Martyrs?
Yeah. Martyrs is fun.
Tourist
Yeah.
horror was also big around that time. Like, I think that's
yeah.
when we got the ruins.
Yeah, we got Turistas.
Oh yeah, the ruins. I actually just read the ruins, the book last year. That's a
Oh,
great
really?
book.
How was it?
Yeah, it's
Oh, I heard
extremely
it's
good.
very scary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like terror inducing. Like it's just these people just crying on a mountain for like 300 pages, but it just keeps on getting worse for him. Like it's like kind of like on Reddit. It's like on the Reddit horror book subreddit. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is the book," and it's kind of the book. It's good.
Damn. Nice.
Random recommendation, but check that
That's
shit
a
out.
recommendation for Ruins, guys. Go
Yeah.
check it out. Then go watch the movie and be like, what happened in translation?
Right.
But yeah, I think it's a fun movie. I think it's a good gateway kind of. You want to make sure that they're okay with murder because there's a lot.
Yeah, this is like all
'cause- and it's-
incest, sexual assault. Like
Yeah.
there's all sorts of shit.
That's
in
why I
here.
say Scream, because
Not
like
good.
Scream's pretty gruesome too, but Scream's like gruesome after the fact, where like you see them like their guts on the floor, but they've already been murdered. In this one, like there's just eyeballs flying at you 24/7.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
every 15 minutes there's an eyeball break.
And
I
like
feel
Josh
like this
said, the
would've
Christmas tree
benefited.
is. Oh, what's up?
Yeah. I think
The
this would have
Christmas tree, yeah.
benefited from a 3D cut.
Oh man,
Absolutely,
that
it could have been
would've
so good.
awesome.
Yeah, like that Final Destination 3D movie that we
Yeah.
watched. So
And I
good.
think it's so like hard because a lot of times I like slashers that are more like they have like some kind of political message. But if I'm looking for like a fun slasher, I think this one is super cool because it's like again, it's just kind of fun from start to finish. The actors are really good. There's no like bad characters. Like there's even some like mean characters that's like they're doing a good job of it. And like
Yeah,
the kills
yeah.
are creative. It looks cool. It has its own like they made it like they kind of up the saturation, which usually doesn't work, but it works here because it's Christmassy. You know, it adds to the
Mhm.
Christmas look.
Yeah, it
And
feels
so,
really
Really adds
warm
to
the
the
whole time.
jaundice too.
yeah,
Yes.
it adds
yeah.
to the
Yeah.
jaundice.
That
He's
incest
yellower
skin,
than
baby.
shit. Yeah, so fucking yellow.
Andrew, if that's what your shit looks like, you gotta go see a
I'm
doctor.
very
Yeah,
sick.
dude.
Yeah.
Go see Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, but no, it's a lot of fun. I would definitely check this out.
It's kind of in
Yeah.
the same vein as like the Happy Death Day
Yeah, yeah.
type
I
of
don't know if I've
slasher,
seen
where
that.
it's more that like ensemble kind of light-hearted but still gruesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is
I
that
think it
about the
makes
lady who like? Is that the where like they play a game and she has to
no.
like?
It's the Groundhog
It's like
Day
Groundhog
murder.
Day, yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Pretty good.
You have
That
to.
sounds cool. Hell yeah.
Check it out. Happy Death Day, our new recommendation, along with The Ruins and Texas Chainsaw Remake. But thank you guys for joining us. Josh, where can people find you, or where do you want them to find you?
You guys can find me, I guess, on Instagram at bly.mov.
Fly.mov. And we'll put the link at the bottom, of course.
Perfect.
But yeah, well,
Or
thank
on
you for
Twitter
joining
at
us.
Eli's
Oh,
Mindfuckers.
okay.
Hell yeah.
That's where I get down, guys. Don't follow me on Twitter because I fucking tweet too much.
It's true.
But thank you for joining
Constantly.
us, and we'll see you guys next. That's how I vent. We'll see you guys next time on the Bomb Squad.